各位女士、各位先生，大家好。最近这几年，法院一年大概都收到300多万件的案子，有些是到法院打官司，有些是所谓的非讼事件，有些是要拍卖房子、拍卖土地的，叫做强制执行案件。假定一个案子牵涉到3个人的话，那一年就有大约1000万人跟法院打交道。法院跟人民的关系可以说非常的密切，司法院和我们各级法院的同仁也深感责任重大，很希望能够来维持审判独立的基本立场，同时把裁判的品质、非讼事件跟强制执行这一些案件的服务的品质跟效率能够提升，让人民到法院来，案子能够处理得更快，品质能够更好。那么这个是我们努力的一个方向。我想更多人来关心司法，认识司法，可以让我们的司法的品质和效率能够提升，所以我们特别制作这样的一个短片，来介绍法院的组织，来介绍这一些年来法院跟司法院一起做了哪些事情。
The Constitution of the Republic of China was promulgated and came into effect in 1947. The judicial yuan was moved, along with the central government of the Republic of China, to Taiwan in December 1949. In the early days of the development of the judicial system, the high courts and district courts were both placed under the executive yuan. In 1980, the administration of the courts was separated from the prosecution system, based on Judicial Yuan Interpretation Number 86. All courts under the High Court's jurisdiction were placed under the Judicial Yuan. The Republic of China's judicial system had thus made great progressive strides. There are two main functions of judicial power. One of these functions is interpretation to protect human rights and to maintain the nation's constitutional system. The other function is adjudication to resolve disputes and stabilize social order. The judicial yuan exercises 4 powers. 1, the power to interpret. The justices interpret the Constitution and unify the interpretation of laws and orders. 2, the power to adjudicate. The justices adjudicate cases concerning the impeachment of the President and the Vice President of the Republic and matters regarding the dissolution of political parties violating the Constitution. Furthermore, each level of the court system adjudicates civil, criminal, and administrative litigation cases. 3, the power to discipline. The Commission on the Disciplinary Sanction of Functionaries adjudicates cases concerning disciplinary measures affecting public functionaries. 4, the power of judicial administration. The judicial yuan supervises its various subordinate organs and strives to develop a sound judicial system. The judicial yuan has a president, a vice president, and other justices, totaling 15 people, who are nominated and appointed by the President of the Republic with the consent of the legislative yuan. The President and the Vice President are both qualified justices. Other than functioning as justices, they also supervise the subordinate organs of the judicial yuan. The justices hold the power to interpret and the power to adjudicate. To obtain an interpretation, a petition for an interpretation must be filed in accordance with established procedures when a government agency is uncertain as to an application of the Constitution or a particular ordinance, or when an individual alleges that his or her constitutional rights have been infringed. The justices, sitting en bloc, confer and interpret the case. In an adjudication, the justices from the Constitutional Court are responsible for deciding cases concerning the impeachment of the President and or the Vice President of the Republic and the dissolution of political parties violating the Constitution. The Judicial Yuan has established the positions of Secretary General and Deputy Secretary General to administer the affairs of the Yuan under the direction of the President of the Judicial Yuan. In addition, the Judicial Yuan has the following staff units. The subordinate organs of the Judicial Yuan include 3 courts of final appeal, 6 courts and their branches, 3 high administrative courts, 1 intellectual property court, and 22 district courts. The Supreme Court is located at the seat of the central government and exercises jurisdiction over appeals from decisions of the high courts or their branches, the intellectual property court, or the military courts. The high courts exercise jurisdiction over appeals from decisions in civil and criminal cases at the district courts, over first instance criminal cases related to rebellion, treason, and offenses against friendly relations with foreign states, and over military appellate cases of the high military courts. District courts have jurisdiction over civil and criminal cases, juvenile cases, family cases and traffic cases, civil compulsory execution cases, non-contentious matters, elections and recalls, and violations of the statute for the maintenance of social order. The Supreme Administrative Court is located at the seat of the central government and exercises jurisdiction over administrative appeals or interlocutory appeals from decisions or rulings of the high administrative courts and the intellectual property court. High administrative courts exercise jurisdiction over administrative cases brought against decisions on administrative appeals or other public law disputes. The Intellectual Property Court was established on July 1, 2008. It exercises jurisdiction over cases relating to the intellectual property rights, including first and second instance civil cases, second instance criminal cases, and first instance administrative cases. The Judicial Yuan has for many years been striving to improve convenience, implement technology, and increase specialization in order to protect human rights. The system for justices of the Judicial Yuan to interpret the Constitution has been applied for over 60 years and more than 600 interpretations have been issued. Based on the conviction that the country exists for the people, the justices interpret the basic rights of the people set forth in the Constitution. The Constitution guarantees personal freedom, equality, the right to work, the right to petition, freedom of residence and change of residence, as well as the freedoms of speech, assembly, and association. These interpretations translate the abstract human rights provisions contained in the Constitution into practical daily life experiences of the people. In addition, the justices elaborate on important principles of the Constitution, including the maintenance of the constitutional system, the separation of power and mutual respect of each branch of government, as well as the independence of the judiciary. These efforts have a crucial impact on the development of our constitutional democracy. Civil litigation of the Republic of China has adopted the 3-level, 3-instance system. Issues of fact are decided at trials of the first instance. In this initial stage, the trial concentration concept is employed to improve judicial efficiency. This means that courts help litigants to organize their contested issues and raise those issues at trial. The trials at the second instance are strictly limited, continuous trials. Unless otherwise provided by law, new causes of action or defenses are not allowed in trials at the second instance. Trials at the third instance review only questions of law. To alleviate the burdens on litigants, the Judicial Yuan actively promotes a mediation system. In this regard, the Judicial Yuan has successfully made efforts to upgrade the quality of mediators and raise the ratio to 2/3 of the court fees that can be returned to litigants where mediation succeeds. The general public can pay legal fees at financial institutions, at ATMs, or over the Internet. Starting July 2009, these fees can also be paid at convenience stores. To increase participation in auctions by courts, the Judicial Yuan has implemented the posting of current photographs of properties to be auctioned online. The Judicial Yuan is also considering offering current photographs of non-real estate property for auction, investigating the state of occupancy of seized property, and increasing ways of delivering property that has been auctioned. Implementing consumer debt cleaning provisions to assist people to recover from financial distress. The Republic of China's Code of Criminal Procedure has adopted the modified adversarial system and applies the principle of presumption of innocence. Therefore, prosecutors must prove guilt based on the relevant criminal evidence beyond reasonable doubt. The principle of the law of evidence is strictly applied so that the parties can examine witnesses' testimony through cross-examination to confirm its truth. Also, the practice of contracting out the translation of court recordings has been expanded. This has improved trial effectiveness and streamlined trial procedures. Summary proceedings can be applied to cases where there is clear evidence, in cases for which the sentences include a probation, or where sentences are commutable to a fine or to performing social services in lieu of imprisonment or detention or a fine. Other than in cases where the penalty can be capital punishment, life imprisonment, or punishment for more than 3 years, the courts can rule to proceed with simple trial proceedings if the defendant confesses to the crime during preparatory proceedings, or where prosecutors petition the court to change the plea negotiation procedure to shorten the litigation time. Before detaining defendants or conducting search and seizure or temporary commitment for identification, approval must be given and writs must be signed by a judge. A warrant for electronic surveillance must also be approved and signed by a judge to protect the public's freedom to communicate privately. To meet the public's high expectation that cases of great financial and social significance shall be promptly concluded, the Judicial Yuan has charged the Taiwan-Taipei District Court with establishing specialized divisions to handle such cases so as to enhance the quality and effectiveness of trials. When children or juveniles commit crimes or are suspected of violating the law, according to the protective procedures of the Juvenile Proceedings Act, consensus-type trials will be utilized. The courts have measures to protect juveniles, including oval table tribunals, private conversation rooms, tribunals with two-way vision systems, and observation rooms. To protect victims of domestic violence, each district court provides locations for local governments to establish domestic violence service centers that offer services such as legal consultation, referrals, and courtroom escorts. The courts also offer safety measures such as webcam systems, two-way mirrors, private interrogation equipment in lineup rooms, safety corridors or access to alternative routes, staggered court hours for arrivals and departures of the parties, and social worker escorts. These steps ensure a safe environment and safer measures for victims and witnesses as described in the Domestic Violence Prevention Act. Each district court is equipped with single-window service centers staffed by the court's professional litigation counselors and justice volunteers who provide fast, easy, and friendly service. The Legal Aid Foundation, LAF, was established and funded by the Judicial Yuan to strengthen the rights and interests of the underprivileged. It offers essential legal aid to criminal defendants in mandatory defense cases or indigent defendants. LAF also offers lawyers to accompany defendants during the initial interrogation by prosecutors and police, as well as consumer debt cleaning assistance. As of now, there are 21 branches around the nation to help ensure that litigation rights and equal rights, as guaranteed by the Constitution, are not infringed. A case flow management system has been tried in Taipei, Taoyuan, Shilin, Kaohsiung, Nantou, and Hsinchu. By changing the method of case assignment, the cases can be more properly concluded, and the quality of judgments can be improved. Each district court is established with specialized tribunals that deal with finance, labor, intellectual property, medical disputes, and elections and recalls cases. The Judicial Yuan has also enhanced judges' specialized knowledge through on-the-job training and by introducing expert assistance from the judicial associate officers to achieve a specialization of labor and to conclude cases promptly and properly. Courts of the first and second instance currently record proceedings by both computer and digital audio recording. The courts also run remote interrogation services and have open online access to those transcripts so that the computer transcripts can be compared to the audio CDs. The general public can obtain litigation assistance online by downloading lawsuit templates, checking the civil court fee schedule, and running calculation programs. The public can also look up court decisions, hearing dates, and case progress, and even subscribe to electronic newspapers. All these online services have improved convenience and benefit the people. The litigation system was originally cylindrically structured and very time-consuming. To remedy the problems associated with the cylindrically structured and very time-consuming litigation system, the Judicial Yuan has designed the pyramid-structured criminal litigation system. In the future, the Supreme Court will only hear those cases with significant impact on human rights. All other cases will be heard only up to the level of the high courts. To tie in with this system, there is a continuing effort to build into the trials of first instance solid fact-finding, the implementation of a cross-examination and collegiate system, the strict review of prosecution, and the application of the presumption of innocence principle. The trials of second instance continue on from those of the first. The trials of the third instance will strictly review only questions of law. To respect human rights and avoid disputes involving late-night or otherwise exhausting interrogations, the Judicial Yuan amended the Code of Criminal Procedure, stipulating that the parties may request a postponement of the interrogation until the next day in cases where the court would be hearing the case late at night or the interrogation would continue late into the night. The court cannot deny the request without just cause. This amendment was promulgated by the President on July 8, 2009, and will go into effect on January 1, 2010. To promote fair and speedy criminal trials, the Judicial Yuan has solicited opinions from all walks of life. It has finished the Draft for Fair and Speedy Criminal Trials, which identifies tried promptly and tried within a reasonable time as important judicial human rights. This will help to ensure the public's rights and elevate the people's trust in the judicial system. To better resolve civil disputes, the Judicial Yuan is considering the possibility of establishing pretrial arbitration or mediation for specialized cases such as major construction projects disputes. As a result, trials could be concluded more effectively and disputes more promptly resolved. In response to changes in the international environment and economic development, the Judicial Yuan has finished a draft amendment to the law governing the application of laws to civil matters involving foreign elements. The draft has updated intellectual property rights, proper law in commerce involving foreign elements, and amended the matrimonial property system and the proper law in acknowledgement of natural children. The principles of gender equality and child protection have also been strengthened. These changes have helped to harmonize the law with international standards and raise the people's trust in the judicial system. The draft has been submitted to the Legislative Yuan for discussion. Our country so far has 3 high administrative courts, each in Taipei, Taichung, and Kaohsiung, to hear administrative litigation. To offer more convenient locations for the general public to bring administrative lawsuits and for administrative offices to respond more quickly, the Judicial Yuan is planning to establish administrative tribunals at each district court. These administrative tribunals would hear the first instances of summary proceedings, preservation of evidence processes, and compulsory execution cases. Furthermore, courts of general jurisdiction are currently hearing traffic citations and state compensation cases. These cases will thereafter be heard by the administrative tribunals at each district court due to their public law nature. To protect the public's rights and benefits in connection with tax cases, the Judicial Yuan has selected topics to study the causes underlying tax disputes and invited the Ministry of Finance to discuss how the law might be revised accordingly. The Ministry of Finance has so far amended the income tax law by including an interest calculation in the income tax for profit-seeking enterprises. Other topics were also sent to each taxation organization in the nation to be implemented. The Judicial Yuan will follow this model to select relevant topics to study land cases and to offer suggestions for amendments of the laws to the relevant authorities and thereby hopefully minimize the causes of litigation. There are special and common requirements associated with the handling of juvenile and family cases. As such, the Judicial Yuan is developing the Draft for Juvenile and Family Courts Organization Act and planning to combine the Kaohsiung Juvenile Court with the Kaohsiung District Court Family Tribunal into the Juvenile and Family Court. Similar courts will be established in other districts depending on the demands in order to strengthen and promote the professional management of juvenile and family cases nationwide. The Judicial Yuan is combining efforts from the government, academia, and industry to systematically organize legal information with reference value, such as court decisions, publications, related articles, and experience dealing with cases. These will form a judicial think tank which will provide convenient access and searching capabilities for judges and scholars alike. To establish a sound personnel system for judges, the Judicial Yuan not only strives to increase the number of judicial personnel and diversify the recruiting sources for judges, but also works towards enhancing the legislation in the Judges Act to improve the quality of judges and to boost their work efficiency.
到法院来打官司，一边赢一边输，要让大家都满意，确实非常的困难。但是从各个国家发展的历程来看，一个独立的、公正的、有效率的、受到人民信任的司法，对国家的发展是非常重要、非常宝贵的资产。社会上的一些纷纷扰扰的事情，在一个法治基础不够深厚的地方，可能变成一个动乱；但是在一个法治基础比较健全的国家，它可以透过司法，以最小的社会成本来得到解决。几年前，美国总统大选，布希和高尔的纷争，最后透过联邦最高法院的裁决来平息，就是一个非常好的例子。我们每一个人可能有不同的角色、不同的功能、不同的工作，但是我们有一个共同的目标，就是把台湾建立成为一个更美好的法治的社会。在这个共同的目标之下，司法院非常愿意跟大家一起来合作、来努力。谢谢大家。